All right, welcome back, everybody. We're outside on the patio, and we're talking all about topiaries, which is so beautiful to see this perfectedly gorgeous, manicured greenery, which is fantastic.
It's
I
beautiful.
love it. Kate?
Yeah.
Who are we with?
Landscape architect. I love the title. Anthony Bellomo.
Very formal, yes.
It is, but it's like the best type of title. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Like a fantastic tablescape.
Yeah, a little array.
Before we begin, give us a little of your history, because it's kind of fascinating.
Sure, yeah. So I went to school for landscape architecture,
Yep.
and I worked as a landscape architect for about the last 20 years. And then really...
Did you start when you were 6?
Well, about 6.5. And then when COVID set in, I spent, I came up to the Hudson Valley where I live. I lived, just on weekends from the city, and I came up full time during COVID. And then all of a sudden, this opportunity came out to open a garden shop.
Which is incredible. And the name of it is?
It's called Orangerie. It's in Millbrook, New York, so it's just over the Connecticut border.
Just over the border.
Yep.
It's a great destination. Such a beautiful little town.
It is.
I highly recommend it, and check out the shop as well. All right, so we have these beautiful, you've trained these.
I maintain these. So full disclosure, I have a garden shop and I'm very good with plants. I have a green thumb, but a lot of these come from different distributors and vendors, and then we sort of care for them, we grow them on, we maintain them, and we sell them to people like you that need greenery in your life.
Exactly. Now, if I bought something, could I keep it maintained like this? Would you tell me how to do that?
That was literally what I was going to ask. How do we do this?
People sometimes get afraid of topiary. Essentially what a topiary is it's the practice of training a plant into a shape that would not otherwise be its natural form. So for example, myrtle, which is the classic form of topiary we see in this big ball here, and there's some smaller versions of it in the front. That's one that you see pretty commonly. But really you can create topiary out of any multitude of plants. This is rosemary. This is called duranta. This is a coleus that's been trimmed up into a tree form to create a topiary.
That is incredible.
Yeah, this silvery plant is called westringia, and this is a shrub type of honeysuckle. Even something like ivy, like this is a good example of a very quick formed topiary because it's just some ivy that's been wrapped and trained around some stakes and then trimmed into a cone.
Are these all perennial? They keep going?
They're mostly not cold hardy, so what you would do is you'd have these outside for the summer. You could put them on like a side table on a terrace or a patio, and then you'd bring them in a sunny window in the winter. So there's really 3 things you do to maintain them. One is they want bright light, so outside summertime, inside sunny window. Water, you don't want them to dry out, so these are all like little trees. Think of it as a miniature tree in a little pot, so you want to keep that hydrated. You're going to water this regularly every 2 to 3 days. That's the
2 to
thing.
3 days, okay.
People think like once a week, if I go on vacation, it'll be fine. It will not be fine.
It will not be fine. Right, that's when you
so
get
you
your
want to
neighbor
keep them well watered. And then lastly, the thing is you want to maintain its form. So the whole idea of a topiary, I'm going to move this out of the way for a second, is you're creating this sort of beautiful shape, whether it be a ball, something looser, something that's multi-balled like some of these larger ones in the front. But this has a sister plant right here that we're going to show you is what it looks like when you let it get a little too far along. And people can be intimidated by this. So now you bought this big, beautiful topiary, you've had it a few weeks, a few months, maybe a year, and it starts to put out all this new growth. And you think, well, how am I going to get it back to looking the way it did when I bought it? And it's really as simple as having a pair of clippers, like this. These are like little pruning shears, and you can kind of just go through it. Sometimes there's bigger ones, depending on how big the plant is. But like even a regular scissor, like you don't even have to have a fancy piece of equipment. This is just a household scissor.
Oh my gosh.
And as long as it's sharp, and you want it to be clean because you don't want to spread disease as you're cutting the plant.
And how often do you need to do this?
The real answer to that question is as needed. So some people like things to be a little looser and shaggier, like this plant is. Myrtle tends to be trained into these more formal shapes. So all I'm doing is I'm rotating this as I go around it in a circle, and I'm bringing it back to that original globe shape that it had. And as I'm going up and across it, I'm kind of arching my hand or angling my scissors so that I'm getting it to become a sphere again.
That is pretty remarkable.
And anybody can do this. Like, I want you to give that a try with the scissors. And you can't really make a mistake.
But what if you do? Like,
have you seen her do traffic?
What if you do make a mistake,
Here's
though?
the thing. It's like if you get a bad haircut,
it takes a while to grow out.
That's what I say. The difference between a good haircut and a bad haircut is 2 weeks.
It's like 6 weeks.
But practice makes perfect, and it's something that I think it's fun.
I can't believe you just trusted me to do this
Well,
on
I can't believe it
television.
either.
It's not so scary, and I don't
It's
want
kinda
people to be
scary.
intimidated
And
by
what
it.
is this, Archer? What is this?
So that's a little ground cover seed. I mean, one of the things we like to do
Sedum.
in bigger pots is because, looking at this soil isn't the prettiest thing, is if you underplant it with something that sort of creeps along the soil, it just gives it another
You're
layer of
turning-
texture.
Well, I've got scissors in my hands.
Yeah, no, I'm taking my life into
You
my
are.
hands here.
Yeah. But
Oh
it's
my God.
fun, and
It is
there's
fun.
something therapeutic about it.
You've got an
And
event
now I'm
coming up.
invested.
Tell us about the
So
event.
I'm going to be giving a topiary lecture at Hollister House, and Hollister House is this fabulous garden in Washington, Connecticut. They have different
Washington's so
lectures and interactive events there all the time, and I'm really excited to be there on August 26th. So it's the last Saturday of August.
Last Saturday of August.
And I'll get into a much more in-depth conversation about topiary, how to maintain it, how to care for it, and we'll have a whole
Do
sampling.
we need to
of them.
register for this?
You do. You can go right on Hollister House's website. And you'll also be able to see their whole calendar of events when you do so.
So if somebody really wants some help, you can do that for them as well. You can make sure that everybody has beautifully maintained and manicured gardens.
100%, yeah. And at the end of the day, I think Hollister House is about educating people when it comes to gardens and plants and all of that. And so this is just one thing that they offer, but there's also the most fabulous garden there that is inspired by English gardens, which also made great use of topiaries. So it's actually a really interesting day to go out and
Well,
have a
we
look.
can't thank you enough for being on our show.
Yeah, this
You
is
have to come
beautiful.
back.
No, I'd like to
Please.
anytime.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a pleasure.
Thank you for
Andrew.
having
So
me.
much appreciated.